At the end of April and beginning of May 2024, I went hiking, backpacking, sleeping in a tent for a week in Nordmarka, a little bit north of Oslo, Norway, together with my son. After breakfast, it was time to pack up everything, which is a lot more work than one initially think about. For us, it typically took us in a total of 2 hours from waking up till we're leaving the camp. We could have done it faster, but we were not really in a hurry for this trip, so that was all okay. Before we left, I had to do something about the wound on my heel, and I had brought this tape of Lupopor based on some recommendation from some YouTubers, and I decided just to take some pieces and just tape directly on the wound. Didn't have too much other choices, and then hopefully that would work out. We would find out during the hike. Now, some words about navigation. We constantly used a Norwegian app called Ut that we absolutely loved. And this screenshot here is really from a laptop, but you had similar view on the mobile phone. And as we are 3 days from the end of our hike, we needed to start to plan it a little bit because we also needed to get to the airport at the end of the hike. And we're now at the cross here. So we planned for today a relatively short hike, but it will be a lot uphill. And we have seen some lakes on the map that we are thinking hopefully we can find a good campsite there. And if we're really lucky, also with a sunset. We love sunsets. Then tomorrow, there's going to be a much longer hike, but that should be flattish. So that should be okay. And then the day after, it's going to be a much shorter again and downhill. So that should be an easy hike. And here is really the big picture of our whole week and how we made the circle out of the hiking. The crosses are obviously where we spent the night. And don't kill me on the graphics here. I just made this drawing freely in PowerPoint, but it gives a little bit impression of the whole trip. And then we got going up, up, up for a couple of kilometers. Thing about hiking in Nordmarka, and I think most of Norway, is that you can always find water. So you don't have to carry too much water with you. We typically just drank all the water we wanted before we started the hike, and then just stopped to filter. We always filter just to be safe, and then you just drink what you need and move on. Then it was lunchtime, and we found a picnic table at this spot, as you can see on the map. So we chose to have lunch there. This is a screenshot from the iPhone, where you can see it's on airplane mode. Still, the GPS works, of course, and we had cached the map, so that worked out great for us. We got to one of the lakes that we had identified on the map earlier on as potential good campsites, and it was awesome. Excellent. Here we're going to put down our tents. We were extremely happy with the camp boots, which we originally had purchased to make sure we wouldn't be cold in the night in the sleeping bag. However, as soon as we were not hiking, we took off the hiking shoes, put on these boots, and it was a great relief for the feet. And the hiking boots could air and also, dry up. So that was an excellent piece of equipment. Only 250, 300 grams, so definitely worth it. The tip, bring a small hook like this and a rope so you can hang your backpack up at a tree so you don't have to bend over, and you're keeping it dry in case the ground is wet. But time to get going. We have a long day ahead of us. It's been a pretty hard day so far. We had lunch and hoped that things would get better, but it didn't. We ended up having to hike a lot on ski
Yeah.
trails, which is really worse than foot trails because during the winter everybody skis there, and the snow being packed and melt very slowly. So here's an example, and it was up and down, up and down. So on a big map, you don't really see that. It's flattish. But when you really start hiking it, it's pretty bad. And we got into these type of things when you hiked up a hill. It says like very dangerous to ski down it. I,
Oh my god.
so we kind of had to make a decision. Do we stop earlier than what we had planned and then had to have a hike more tomorrow, or do we just keep going? No, we decided to just keep going and having a late dinner. When we finally came to the area that we wanted to achieve, we actually had a problem finding a camp spot. So it took us 15 minutes before we found this spot. That was pretty good at the end. 7:30 in the evening, tents are up, and now we're going to eat, and then we're going to get to bed as soon as possible. So one thing I learned is don't wait too long for the weather to cool down on yourself before you go into the sleeping bag. So didn't make that mistake again, and didn't have any problem this night either, even though it was getting pretty cold, almost down to zero. And then it was time for our last lunch of this week. And we picked the last piece of forest before we would get into the valley and farmland and urbanization, so to say. And it had been a very easy hike for us this morning. A lot of downhill. The weather been beautiful, and we didn't come across too much snow either. A little update on my wound on the heel that I taped up. I didn't feel anything during hiking after I taped it up. Not today and not yesterday, and it's just amazing. I refresh it every day. I was a bit scared to tear it off, but it did not have any impact at all. Didn't get worse and didn't give me any pain. So very happy with that. In the village, we had to hike up on the other side to get to the parking lot, but we dropped by a store and got some goodies before we moved all our stuff from the backpack back into the suitcases, loaded them into the rental car, and drove to the airport.